Hello, and welcome back to How to Game Differently. Today, I've got a very special guest with me. Take it away,
Hey, it's John from Adults Have Toys Too.
John. Like I've said in the previous video, I am a massive fan of John.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
we've been talking a little bit before this, and I hadn't actually mentioned this, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of you, mate. So you do some really, really great stuff. For those that don't know, John was actually one of the very first people to have reached out to me when I started doing this channel. I did a post on Reddit. He messaged me, and we started talking on Instagram, and been a little bit of my mentor through this journey.
Wow, you're gonna make me blush. No, it's funny. It's funny to hear saying like somebody, oh, I'm a fan. Especially, I mean, we're both small YouTubers. It's not like we have massive followings, but it's
Dude,
a nice thing to hear.
I'm 56 subscribers. You're like nearly 700 subscribers. There's a bit of a difference.
Hey, you're getting up there though, and I obviously part of the reason why I actually reached out to talk to you more is I kind of like your idea behind it. Everybody has
Yeah.
their own kind of stick, different ways of looking at things. And I like the way you're kind of developing into kind of this sort of thing, a little more conversational, more open, rather than the kind of the stay like I'm the authority on the matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And to be honest, like my whole theme was like, I want there to be people talking about it, and I don't want this channel just to be purely me, because I think that would just be boring as hell. So to make it more interesting, I get lovely people like yourself come along and help me out.
Well, I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. And obviously, thank you for taking your time out of your lovely break. That is well deserved. But today, going on to topic, we're going to be talking about the recent E3 Nintendo Direct and all the different games that came out of it, what shocked us, what disappointed us. And yeah, we'll kick things off with what was our biggest surprises? What was the thing that got us leaping into the air of like, woohoo, fantastic, I'm so happy.
Yeah, for me, I mean, just starting off, Nintendo knows how to do a cold open, and leading off, seeing like Ganondorf walked over to the edge of a cliff. It was kind of like they knew that people were there to see Zelda stuff. Like that was not a question. They knew that was a thing. So it was very intentional on their part to lead off with like this shocking image of Ganondorf defeated and being tossed over the edge. And I want to say it's surprising, but also like kind of like, oh, when I saw it was a Tekken cross with Super Smash Brothers. I like Smash Brothers. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I thought it was interesting to open that way and kind of start with that shocking open.
Yeah, they've been doing that with most of their E3 directs. Well, since they announced Super Smash, they always kind of opened up as like, who's the next character? And the problem is, I've watched so many of them that I can instantly tell it's going to be a Smash reveal. It's like when they revealed Pyro Mythra from Xenoblade, I knew straight away. I was like, yeah, this isn't a sequel. This is clearly a Smash thing. They gotta throw it in there.
Yeah, the sneaky thing they do is on the bottom, they'll put that little like not game footage or something like that. And it's like, oh,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a huge giveaway most of the time, isn't it? But yeah, I thought it was a cool reveal. Like, I'm not a Tekken guy. My friend Dan, who's on the podcast, he's an amazing Tekken player, and I actually messaged him and goes, I went, Tekken and Smash, and it was like, dude, I play Tekken. Why do I need to play Tekken and Smash? It's not the same. It's completely different. This is amazing.
What I find interesting is it's not the first time Nintendo's really crossed over with Tekken, because if you remember, they did Pokken tournament with Pokemon, and Pokken is connected with Tekken. It's a Namco thing.
Yeah, hence the name with the Ekken kind of side of things. Though they still played quite differently, because Tekken is a proper full-on 2D fighter, whilst Pokken you could rotate round and all that kind of stuff. Which was a fun game, but I got a bit bored of it, to be fair.
It wasn't incredibly deep, but it was fun to get into.
Yeah, it was a nice, like, I kind of felt like it was a bit of a tech demo of what could happen with Pokemon in the future. Um, but yeah, so that was obviously a awesome intro. Having the next reveal of the fighter, though, straight away people were very disappointed. It wasn't characters like Dante or Crash Bandicoot and all that kind of
Sure.
stuff. But so it'd be interesting to see who they leave next. Any predictions who might be the last character they reveal?
That's so hard because I mean they really come out of left field with stuff, and there's so many fan theories and different things out there. I don't even know where to begin because it's just every time one comes out, something
Yeah.
like after the fact, you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I just never seem to be able to figure out what they're going to do beforehand.
Yeah, and to be fair, like Tekken was so obvious, I just didn't even think about it. There was me thinking either Master Chief or Crash, but completely failed. So for me, probably one of the coolest surprises, because I was actually watching it on my commute home on the tube, and I was walking watching it, trying to avoid bumping into people. But there was one point when I was about to cross the road, and then they announced Advance Wars 1 and 2 reboots or recamp or whatever they called
Right.
it. And literally I was like, what? In the street, and then like people were staring. I was like, yeah, that just blew my mind because I thought that series was just gone.
I'm really excited to see that. I mean, I was kind of hoping for a new game, but showing that the series is still alive and they still have an interest in it is a good sign.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like it might be the tester, because they had there was an indie game called Wargroove, which was basically a spiritual successor for Advance Wars, and Nintendo heavily marketed that game. So I think they wanted to test to see how popular that game would be, and then try it out with their own game with a bit of a resurgence. And obviously a massive one. I might be stealing your thunder, but Metroid Prime. No, not Metroid Prime. Sorry, Metroid 5. Metroid 5.
Absolutely, yeah. That was very unexpected. I was expecting maybe they would bring something about Prime 4 because I know that's been on the back burner for a while. I think I pre-ordered it. Yeah, I think I pre-ordered it back when like the Switch came out. I still on my Amazon pre-order. And I know, and don't pre-order things before that you have the reviews. But I have this on pre-order. And so yeah, to see they're talking about Metroid, okay, it's something else. And I know some people were really surprised with it being Dread, which is a canceled DS game. It's actually something I didn't know about. I follow it far enough to realize that there was a canceled DS game that this is now a remake of. So it was after the fact I was looking into it, and I can see why some people are really excited.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a sequel to Fusion. I think that was like the original idea of it, which was what I actually thought they were going to do, like do a remake of Fusion. But yeah, no, I think it looks cool. The only thing I'm a little bit unsure about is just my preference of gaming. I don't like the whole you could be chased by something that you can't defeat and you have to hide. It's just not really my type of game.
I hear you on that, and it feels like it might be a big part of the game because they highlighted it a lot, but maybe it's not. Because I mean, part of what makes Metroid is that kind of oppressive, powerless feeling at the start. In the beginning, you have very little equipment and you're kind of just barely making it by, and there's massive enemies and things that put you in very compromising situations. And part of the fun is over time building up your equipment and all of that towards the end, where you're now this like massively powerful character working your way through these areas that used to give you trouble.
No, exactly. So so hopefully it's only maybe a few levels, but the graphics look amazing.
Yeah, my biggest worry, and it's not that I'm worried that Nintendo will mess it up, but my biggest thing is, will it be something that controls well, like the feeling of it? How does it feel? Because that's what'll make or break it.
Yeah, that's very true. And just also just generally the content from it, because it's because I checked it up. It's a full priced Switch game.
Right.
you know. And I know with when they did the remake of Link's Awakening, there was a lot of
Mhm.
criticism about like the length of the game, and you know it being
Sure.
full value and stuff. So yeah, again, it'd be interesting to see what content. But again,
And
like I like the stuff they've done with the amiibos, because it seems like any Metroid game that comes out, they attach them amiibo. So it'd be cool to see what kind of interaction that has with the game as well.
sure.
So what other big surprises were there for you?
For me, honestly, one of the most exciting and surprising things was the Game and Watch, the the
Yes.
Zelda Game and Watch. And I know it's a silly little toy. I have the Nintendo the Mario Super Mario Brothers one,
Yeah.
and yeah, there's not a lot to it, but it's just a cool little thing. And I mean, to me, like little things like that just kind of like make you kind of smile. Like the detail in the packaging they did with the other one, you know, little details was really impressive, and I'm really excited to get my hands on the Zelda one as well.
Yeah, and it looks like you get a lot more features in the Zelda one compared to the Mario one.
A few more. I'm happy they put the Game Boy game in there. It's interesting to see that the Game Boy really is a more powerful system than the NES, which is a funny thing to think of. And
Yeah,
my go-to example for that always is Zelda, because you look at Zelda on the Game Boy versus, you know, the NES version, and how wide that gap is, you know, even minus color and all that sort of stuff. It seems like the main things they added is making that playable clock and playable timer,
yeah.
and then now it's three mainline games versus having two, depending on how you count Super Mario Brothers 2.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I thought it was only the first one that was on
No,
the other Game and Watch.
yeah, no, it's Super Mario Brothers 2, but the Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2, which is what we know as the Lost Levels. So it's kind of an expansion pack
Oh,
to Super Mario Brothers.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I messaged you saying like as soon as that popped up, I was like, "That's John. That's
Yeah, no,
totally John's
absolutely.
thing."
And I mean, obviously, Breath of the Wild was a big thing, Breath of the Wild 2. But I mean, to me, honestly, that was the one that was like, oh wow, I'm glad they're doing something. But they also added a little bit of disappointment in saying that we're not doing any other campaigns or anything like that for the
Yeah,
35th anniversary of the Legend of Zelda, which to me is a little disappointing. The Legend of Zelda, I feel a strong connection to that series. I mean, my wedding band, which doesn't fit me anymore, but my wedding band actually has the Triforce on it. And it's something that's, you know,
oh wow.
I find, like I said, I have a strong connection to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a massive shame, isn't it? Because obviously, you know, Mario did a massive thing, had its own
Right.
direct and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, Zelda got nothing. I don't even think they got a tweet on the actual birthday.
No. Yeah, there was a bunch of other companies that did stuff, and
Yeah,
obviously personalities, YouTubers and things like that, but I don't think anything officially from Nintendo.
yeah, which seems weird because it's like their second biggest mainstream game series, you know, and
Right.
yeah, and again, like I know they've got the Skyward Sword remake HD
Yeah,
thing coming up, but everyone was like, bring over the Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD. You know, it's on the Wii
sure.
U. It
Yeah,
should be so easy just to, you know.
yeah, the assets are there. It should be a very simple transition. And you know, it's one of those things that I was really hoping to see a Legend of Zelda maker, like a Mario maker, because that really
Yeah,
lends itself to that sort of thing, you know, tile based, and make your own dungeons with, you know, switches and placing enemies and all that sort of stuff. It seems like it'd be a perfect fit. And so that was, I know we haven't hit the disappointments and things like that, but that was kind of one of my biggest disappointments. I was kind of expecting to see something more along those lines, and I was kind of disappointed not to see that there.
yeah, yeah. No, it was a big shame. Yeah, definitely. Um, so any others? Any other big surprises?
Yeah. So one of the things that really stood out to me, actually connected with me, which was kind of a throwaway, it seemed like in the show, was there's a arcade port of one of the new cruising games, the racing game, and that actually has a connection to me because I remember my little brother back when Cruising USA came out.
Mm,
Would play that in the arcade nonstop. We'd go to, I think it was Round Table Pizza, and there was a Cruis'n USA cabinet there, and he would play that all the time. And that was one of the early N64 hardware-ish. It did like Ultra 64 when it started, but it was before the N64 came out.
Yeah.
And when we did get an N64, I think my parents spent more money renting that game for my brother than the price of the game until finally they bought it for him. And he was like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 at the time, but like that was
Yeah.
his thing, and he just was playing that thing nonstop. And so it was kind of, it made me smile to see a new cruising game on a Nintendo system.
Yeah, because to be honest, I didn't have a clue what it was. I just thought it was like a cool arcade speed racer. So it's quite nice to hear that there was a bit of history behind all of that, with the connection with Nintendo. And I
Yeah,
think that's
no, and
probably what I was going to say. I think that's probably one of the beautiful things about Nintendo is that they do sometimes reach down into their pockets and bring back something that, you know, people have some kind of connection to, like yourself.
yeah, and that's, yeah, like I said, it was a throwaway, and for most people, it is a throwaway. It's just a little arcade port. It was originally done by Midway, and I don't think Midway exists anymore. I don't know who now has all the rights for all of that, but
Oh,
it
okay.
was just kind of, like I said, a little thing that kind of made me smile. I know it was a minor thing in the whole direct, but there are things that you might look at and be like, okay, whatever. But there's somebody out there who's like, oh wow, I can't believe they're doing that.
Yeah, yeah, probably a bit like that with Advance Wars for us as well, because there'll be so many people that just won't have a clue about Advance Wars because they
Right.
you know, they only got up to DS level and then they just didn't go any further than that. Um, but no, that's cool. That's cool. I think one of the I don't know if it was a surprise because like Nintendo were really being a bit funny about this, but the new WarioWare game,
Hmm.
I don't know if you saw that they were doing all these surveys like about a week before of like, would you play full price for a Wario game? Is this something you want to come back and visit?
Uh-huh.
And if it was like, yeah, definitely, definitely, then they're like, yeah, direct.
Yeah, I like the WarioWare series. I'm not sure on this one, but every time they come out with one, they try to do something entirely different.
Yeah,
And this one looks very like controller based. And I'm guessing the idea is, you know, you got your Joy Cons, you hand one to your friend, and you do
yeah,
the multiplayer stuff and all that. Um, I just feel like that type of control doesn't necessarily lend itself to the really quick, rapid fire pace that those games come through. Uh, I'm
yeah,
willing to be proven wrong, but I looking at it, looked a lot slower pace than what I'm used to from a WarioWare game.
yeah. Because I think the closest thing they've had to that is 1-2 Switch, which,
Mhm.
you know, you don't actually have to do much. A lot of it was just like tilting a little bit and um you know, like one strike, you know, like it was like
Right.
this weird Harry Potter thing they threw into it. um but yeah, no, again, it was just another really cool surprising game. And I don't know if they meant to do this, but it was the 25th, not 25th, sorry, the 20th anniversary of the Game Boy Advance. And when you look at it,
Mm.
you got a new Metroid game,
Hmm.
WarioWare, Advanced Wars, all games that kind of started off on the Game Boy Advance. Well, not so much Metroid, but you know, it's like one of the last proper 2D
Yeah,
game. Um,
sure.
so it was quite nice, like bringing that style of games back into well, the modern era. So
Yeah.
I thought that was
No,
quite a nice touch.
the Game Boy Advance was a pretty amazing system. I mean, at the time, you know, the Game Boy was dominating no matter what anybody else came out with. You know, NEC came out with a handheld, Sega obviously had their Game Gear, and they had
Yeah,
that was the Nomad, the that portable Genesis, a ton of stuff. And then finally Nintendo with their new system. I remember going to Best Buy with my mom, and we got the transparent purplish one,
oh yeah,
and it was I got that with the Tony Hawk that came out on the Game Boy Advance.
oh I had that. Yeah, yeah,
And it now if you go back and play it, it's like, yeah, but like at the time to have something handheld, and it was isometric, and but it
yeah,
played like it had the Tony Hawk feel, and it was really impressive. Which, on that same note, they're bringing out Tony Hawk 1 and 2 on the Switch, which I think is probably the perfect platform for that. You know, I know they have it
mm,
on the other consoles and you can play it 4K and all that sort of stuff, but I think putting on something that you can take with you, because they're such short playthroughs. You got the 2-minute levels or
Yeah.
whatever. I think it really fits the Switch way better than it does on, say, PlayStation or Xbox.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, jump in, see what if you can beat your high score, and obviously listen to some amazing tracks, because that was part of their big thing, wasn't it? Having such a cool
Definitely.
playlist.
Mhm.
Because I remember when they announced it, it was like yeah, here's some game footage, but here's the tracks that you remember and love.
Right. The important part.
Yeah, yeah, could just buy them on iPlayer or anything, iTunes and stuff. But nah, get on there. Yeah,
That's probably the first exposure to that music for a lot of people. There's a lot of bands on
yeah,
there that I now enjoy, but I think probably the first time I heard of them or heard that music was on Tony Hawk.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And look, we've got a whole podcast about a podcast episode about music and gaming and the importance. But I do think something we didn't really touch on. But yeah, I do think it's a great opportunity to let different people listen to different types of music. But yeah, anyway, let's get back onto topic. I knew this was going to
Absolutely.
happen.
It's not a bad thing. It's all content, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. To be honest, I like this because I think it feels more like a conversation.
Yes.
Let us know. Let us know in the comment section down below. Do you like this, or would you prefer cutting out? Because if you do, I'm ignoring you. I'm still having all this in. uh, um. So those were kind of like our big surprises. What other kind of games were you expecting for them to show, and we're still pleasantly pleased that they were there?
Yeah, I mean, is it Shin Megami Tensei
Oh
5?
God, yeah.
It's hard for me
Blah,
to
blah,
say
blah,
it. Yeah, but I know, like, to me, I played the original Persona, and looking
yeah,
at some of the art in that, the style of enemies and stuff like that, it reminds me of some of the original Persona. But I never really got into the series, and a lot of it never really came to the West very much.
yeah.
But it was interesting to see. And I know there's some people that are really, really excited by the fact that now this is, coming over, a mainline game coming over to the US and being on the Switch, which it makes me wish even more that they would bring mainline Persona games to the Nintendo console. Because I think RPGs, I like playing on the Switch, and having something like Persona 5 Royal or something like that on the Switch would be a good addition, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened.
Yeah, so many people have been screaming for it. Like, you have Joker and Smash. Why
Mhm.
don't you bring it the actual game over which he was on? And
Right.
Persona's been on like loads of like DS and 3DS games. So
Yes,
again,
that's
like
true.
I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason, but it's a bit socky because I think Persona 5 is kind of like one of the best RPG games from what people have said.
Mhm.
And again, fantastic music as well.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely. And that's something that, I mean, the stylized combat and all, it's a great game all around. And it feels like it's just a hole in the Switch's lineup. And hopefully with this happening, maybe Atlas is giving Switch a deeper look.
well, you've got the remake of Shenny. Oh God, I can't even say it. The third one. They've done
Yes,
a remake of the third one recently,
that is
haven't they?
true.
And
Yeah.
that's come to the Switch. So yeah, I think again, it's like treading stone of like seeing will people go for it and stuff. And like for the new one, the original trailer they had might have been about this time last year. I wasn't really interested, but this trailer got me really interested. I think for me, because I'm a massive Pokemon nerd, hence why let's put a little poster up.
Sure.
um, the whole like capturing monsters and like combining them to evolve them and all this kind of stuff. That was like, yeah, okay, you've got me there.
Yeah, and the concept of like the two realities and stuff like that is always fun to play with.
Mm. Yeah, because that's the thing, isn't it? Because Persona is all about that, isn't it? That there's
Mhm.
like alternative worlds that they jump between.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a cool one of like continuing on. For me, I was I guess it was a little bit of a surprise as well because they announced it for the Xbox previously, and obviously PC. But Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy game,
Yeah,
that I was blown away with that, because it was like a modern game on all these big, more powerful,
right.
consoles, and yet they've clearly made the effort to put this on. And
Sure.
I did wonder, like, well, if they're doing this, why not put Marvel Avengers game onto it as well?
I think there's some people that are probably okay with the fact that it's not there. But no,
I haven't played it. I've only watched
I
the cinematic, so I was like, oh, that looks good.
yeah, I haven't played it either. I've heard a lot of rumblings of it not being great. I have more hope for Guardians of the Galaxy because it seems to
Mm,
be more of a single player adventure game rather than
yeah,
this kind of more online based thing. I'm always curious to see how it makes that translation, because you look at things like Doom and Doom Eternal.
yeah,
They did brought it down to Switch, but there's obviously compromises that come with it, or like the Witcher 3,
yes,
and how they make those choices to decide what they're going to do with resolution, what they're going to do with frame rate, what they're going to do with textures. And I mean, it really brings me back to the days when we had a lot of different consoles, and like, how will it look on the Saturn versus the PlayStation? It's one of those
yeah,
things that they have to make choices based on the hardware. And I'm curious to see what they decide to do with that. But I'm cautiously excited about the game itself, because it does look like they're hitting a good vibe with it, and it might be something that's fun to play. But they don't have the track record right now, and Square Enix in that type of game, to me, to warrant
yeah,
the, like, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be a buy.
yeah. I was surprised they didn't do like a Ubisoft move of having Star Fox in it, because obviously it was Starlink Battle for Atlas. They did a whole separate campaign and stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was just like looking at Rocket, and I was thinking, like, that could be like a Star Fox skin. You could have like, or like
Yeah.
or I forgot his name now. Drax. He could be
Mhm.
Slippy. Being both green.
That's an image, yeah.
An image to haunt your memories for the rest of your life.
I do like that Nintendo does have the clout to be able to do stuff like that once in a while, because they had
Yeah.
when Minecraft came, they were able to add some Nintendo stuff in with that.
Mm.
There was another one that I remember. It was surprising that they added something Nintendo with it. I know they did Skylanders. I remember when they added some
Oh
Nintendo
yeah,
stuff into
Donkey.
Skylanders.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had Bowser and Donkey Kong, and they
Mhm.
even had the Skylanders figures, and I think that was
Right.
even still around the time of Amiibo.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, they played double duty as an amiibo also. I could be completely wrong, but I think they did.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. That'd be something to look up after that. But
I'm sure somebody in the
yeah,
comments could go and correct me on that one.
yeah, they'll be like, "You're wrong."
Mhm. That's what the internet's good for.
Yes, complete judgment all the time. But yeah, so that was a surprise in its own right. And then obviously a bit more information on Monster Hunter Stories 2,
Mhm.
which is it's a game series that I've kind of wanted to get into. Like, I'm not a Monster Hunter fan. It's just not my cup of tea. Fighting the same thing over and over again, just to get like a little bit of minerals or
Sure, and like
items.
streamlining your approach.
Yeah, yeah. So having like being able to ride monsters, and again like RPG aspects, it's
Yeah,
quite exciting.
I never played the first one.
Mm.
I played, I take that back. I did play a demo of the first one, so I mean a little bit of
Oh,
a
okay.
feel for it. And it's an RPG. It's not Monster Hunter. I mean, it's in the same environment, same background and things like that, and some of the same elements, but the gameplay itself is completely different. And actually, I think I like it better. I'm kind of like you. I never really was able to get into um, Monster Hunter. And I think it's like, as I'm getting older, games that are really like detailed oriented and with like a lot of
Mm.
crafting and a lot of like trying to get the right materials and keeping track of your stats, keeping track of the equipment and stuff like that is becoming less and less interesting to me, because it does take more time to get up to speed where you're going to be able to play with it.
Well, when you think about, we're adults now, we've got enough stuff to deal with as well to remember.
Unfortunately, yes.
To have to remember that, oh, I need this scale to get this armor. But yeah, and they did mention that, correct me if I'm wrong, 25th of June, there's a demo for Monster Hunter
that sounds right.
Stories. Yeah, so again, fantastic opportunity for those to give it a try, because yeah, I wanted to play the original, but I don't know, just slipped out of my reach a little bit, because that's on the 3DS, and strangely enough, you can get on Android as well.
That's actually where I played the demo of it on Android.
Ah, was it? Oh.
Yeah, and it doesn't work terribly. Android is a surprisingly competent gaming platform, given the right environment. And
Yeah.
I have an 8BitDo Bluetooth controller, and it's actually a lot of fun to do like Xbox Game Cloud on there. Is that what they're calling it, or Game Pass Cloud, or whatever they call it nowadays? But being able
Game Pass, yeah, I was gonna say Game Pass at the moment, but I think X Cloud is the overall term.
Okay, something along those lines. I know they changed it around a couple of times.
They have to make it confusing for the fact they called it Xbox One, just to reset the whole thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes a lot more sense to have an Xbox One X and an Xbox Series X sitting next to themselves on the shelves, both with 4K. Yeah. I'm sure nobody got the wrong system for Christmas.
Well, look, that was the whole issue with the Wii and the Wii U, because people just thought it was like an add-on.
Yeah. No, I know. I had the Wii U. I was one of the few people that actually had a Wii U back in the days when it was a thing. A lot of people now are actually getting into it, finding used ones, and because there are still a few, they're getting less and less, but there are still a few things that are exclusively on the Wii U that you can't find anywhere else. But yeah, Nintendo, wow, that was and then I think that's kind of a good transition to a lot of people were expecting to see some new hardware from Nintendo on this direct. And I know beforehand they had a little snippet saying, focusing on software only, like a little fine print essentially. But with the number of leaks and the number of
leaks,
sure, there's enough out there to say that something is happening. Now, what the details are, I've heard like, it's going to be an OLED, or it's going to be a mini LED, or it might be a 1080p, it might be, it's so all over the place. But it feels like it's coming, and I'm curious if they're going to do a new 3DS type naming for it, or if they're going to do something reasonable.
Yeah. So for those that don't know what we're rambling on about, it's the Switch Pro that's has been rumored. Let's get it right, rumored across like multiple things. I think it's just a safe prediction, because Nintendo have done it so many times with the handhelds, and people forget that the Switch is a handheld. Yeah, great, it hooks up to your TV and stuff, but primarily it's a handheld. And yeah, because originally my thought would be it's a regular Switch, maybe a bit more memory and stuff, but it's the dock that becomes the Pro thing. So you could potentially like purchase the dock separately if you already had a Switch, which was my logic anyway for it. But
yeah, that was part of the rumors back when it was like the NX rumors, and people were wondering about, before the Switch, which Nintendo did a really good job at keeping that stuff under wraps back when the Switch was coming out. But I remember one of the big rumors was like, oh, there's going to be a GPU in the dock, so when you hook it up, then now all of a sudden you can view 4K and all the other sort of stuff, and then on handheld you got the lower res. But my feeling is the biggest improvement they really need on the Switch is a better screen on the handheld itself.
Yeah.
The 720p screen on there, the resolution is okay. I'd like to see 1080p. I like high density resolution, but I think just like contrast ratios and stuff like that, something coming, a higher grade screen that are more available nowadays would really help that system out.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, if you have something like Breath of the Wild 2, you want to show it off in the best detail as possible. And so I don't know. I don't know where anyone stands with it now, because everyone was so adamant it was going to happen. So
right.
Yeah,
I would say Breath of the Wild 2 in HDR. I really don't care about 4K. It could be 1080p.
Mm.
but high dynamic range in that game would make that look absolutely amazing.
I'll put a link in the description to what I'm on about, but there is a attachment that you can put onto HDMI cables. It's like really heavily marketed to the Switch that would upscale the graphics just like below 4K. It was like a
Sure.
weird in between. Expensive, about £100. So I think that's like nearly $120 or something like that. So
Sounds about right.
expensive, yeah, expensive piece of kit, but it upscaled everything. Because originally I was thinking of it for my Wii of all things, upscaling the picture for that.
Yeah.
So there's technology out there.
Yeah, but like
for it.
that's so like I recently got a OLED TV and seeing stuff in HDR on that, being able to have the details in the dark with like a really bright highlight is something that's really, I think, lends itself, because how many environments are you in with in Breath of the Wild where you're like in a dark area with like a stream of sunlight
Yeah.
coming through, or something like a guardian beam, well, you know, coming at you. That's something
Yeah.
that I think would really, really benefit from something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And again, with what they've kind of shown for Breath of the Wild 2, being up in the sky, you got to get all those clouds and
Sure.
then, like I say, a beam of light coming through it and stuff. So it would be a perfect example of how great that could look.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to think what other games came out that they announced.
They're not that important then if we can't think of it right now.
No. Oh, that's one. That's one. The Mario Party.
Oh, that's right. I was so confused with the start of that because I was thinking expansion, like adding
That
more
was me.
boards. This looks like it's better than what we have now, but it's so disappointing to not see it as an expansion on what's already there, because it's something that I feel like could have been just put in there. I know why they did it. It makes sense to just kind of take a break from what they were doing and kind of get that nostalgia value of those N64 boards and the type of gameplay that was in the early Mario Party games. But
yeah, but they did this before. Like there's a 3DS game. I think it actually came out like 3 or 4 years ago. That is just like 100 best mini games. Like there's no boards or anything. It's just consistent mini games. So they clearly saw that and thought, transition it over. But a lot of people had this theory that there would be a new Mario Party because I think about 2 or 3 months ago they finally updated the first Mario Party game for the Switch to have online play, because it didn't originally, and then they put it in and everyone was like, this is a tester to see how the servers are going to run for a new one, which kind of looks like it. But no, I was exactly like you. I was like, this is DLC, right? Yeah.
Oh, one other thing, I guess we're gonna go down that nostalgia train is the Super Monkey Ball, the compilation that they're doing.
Yeah. God, how did I forget that?
Yeah, that actually looks interesting, because those early Super Monkey Balls are still really the standard, I think, for the game. Some of the later ones, the controls got a little wonkier and it didn't feel quite as solid, and that's what is really going to need to be done well. Because I'll tell you, playing it on the Joy-Con, using a stick on the Joy-Con is probably not going to be the best experience. You'd probably want to be using a Pro controller or something like that, unless they do gyro controls.
Well, that was going to be my thing, and it's something they've never really touched on, but it's the HD rumble. So you could potentially do the whole moving of the stage, but also feel the weight of the ball, which might be a really cool thing if they've put it in. It'd be really it'd be a massively missed thing if they haven't done it already.
Yeah, it'd be a lazy port if they didn't start taking advantage of some of the Switch hardware there.
Yeah, which is again like a thing Nintendo always seems to have as an issue. They have this fantastic idea that they put all this effort in and clearly put tons of money in, hence why the Joy-Con are so expensive.
Right.
And yet no one uses it.
Yeah, that's the difficulty that Sony's even having to go through, because their PS5 controllers are pretty amazing for the adaptive triggers and things like that. But what the adoption rate will be to actually adequately use those things is completely up in the air.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll move on to our final topic of, what was missing. So I know we obviously touched on the Switch Pro not being there, but
Yeah.
what other games were you expecting to be there that you're like quite surprised that they weren't in there?
Yeah, to me, I mean, the biggest disappointment was just to see the lack of attention on Zelda. Like I said, I would have loved to have seen a Zelda maker. There's no real rumors on it. It's just people wishful thinking, but having that would have been something that would be taking it like way above and beyond. Um, Other than that, it felt like it would have been nice to see some more new IP.
Yeah,
Because I mean, Nintendo, I mean, they did Arms, which I did, I mean, fairly well received. Not a lot of people bought it,
yeah,
but it was fairly well received. Um, and it seems like not only Nintendo, but it seems like even the third parties, it's all, sequels or remakes or look backs and things like that. I didn't see a lot of like new IP or new directions for things.
yeah. Which kind of makes you wonder, like, what's going through Nintendo at the moment, because obviously I know the pandemic's affected everyone's work and all that, but is it the case that they're not releasing any new IP anytime soon because something big is happening? So, like how the Switch came out, you had, like you say, Arms, a brand new IP that came out 3 or 4 months after the actual console release. If they do Switch Pro or even a completely new console come out of it, maybe that's their thing. Like, let's hit it with a load of new IPs on that platform. So it might be a waiting game.
It could be. Yeah. I'm just Nintendo has some really talented people over there.
Hmm.
Um, but it's funny because they have a history of being very hit or miss with certain things. With their
Yeah,
their core games generally are well received and well done. But a lot of the accessory stuff, you have the different Mario parties, which are all over the
yeah.
place. Mario Kart is generally solid, but again, there's things that come in and out of that. And oh, I didn't even talk about it, but I'm actually really excited for Mario Golf. that's
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah,
coming up. But again, that's what they're all revolved around. We got all the Mario series. We have the you know now in Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, but there's definitely it feels like they're very safe for the time being, which, like you said, I mean, obviously with the pandemic, it puts you more on shaky ground, so being safe is a good thing.
yeah,
But it would be nice to see some more risky things go out there.
yeah, yeah. Because I think the last, I know it was done by a different studio, but I think Astral Chain was like
Mhm.
the last exclusive. Um, uh, Demon X Machina was the other one, which is a very forgettable game.
Yeah, I didn't even remember it until you mentioned that, and I'd never played it.
I tried the demo, really
Mhm.
wasn't that great, which disappointed me because I'm quite into mech,
Mhm.
um, anime kind of mech fighters and stuff. So a little bit of a disappointment, but anyway, but for me, like I said before, I'm a Pokemon fan massively. There was
You're right.
nothing Pokemon, and I got a little bit worried beforehand because Pokemon, the Pokemon company had finally given the cover art for Pokemon Arceus and given the actual official dates for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Mhm.
And it felt a bit weird that they would do that like 3 weeks before the actual direct.
Yeah. Though I have noticed a little bit of a stepping away from Nintendo with the Pokemon Company. I mean, obviously they're still exclusive to Nintendo, but they're
Mm.
definitely it seems like they like to be standing on their own as far as announcements and things like that.
Yeah, because part of my prediction, and it's happened so many times before, is that they used to have like a mini presentation, maybe like a week before the
Mhm.
direct would come out, and then the direct would continue on with it. So again, like that probably was their mini thing. I did see an announcement that their new Android game, which is kind of like League of Legends, they're having like a big announcement thing tomorrow, apparently. But again,
Okay.
that's I guess understandably they have that separate because it's not Actually, no, it is on the Switch. So why wouldn't they? What are they doing? So many times. I don't know if you're like this, but there's so many times when like I wish I ran Nintendo or was part of the board of directors or something.
Yeah, but I think overall, I mean, we've been talking for a while, and there's a lot of cool highlights that we hit on. But I think the
Mm,
overall vibe of it was kind of meh. The whole direct. There's a couple of things that were definitely highlights, but I didn't feel like there was anything I would just like, oh my, this is the
yeah,
most standout direct they've had. It's just one of those things that Nintendo's kind of got a formula down for their directs, and
mm,
there's a certain way that it happens, and a certain way that you expect. Details change, and it felt very much just as another direct. It's not like, oh, this is the E3 direct. This is it just felt
yeah,
like another direct.
yeah. But to be fair, I don't think there was that much competition with everyone else's, and because so many people did
It's
say
true.
like Nintendo won the E3 Direct and stuff, which I think ever since PlayStation or Sony walked away from E3, I think there was not really that much competition anyway. But yeah, it's going to be a weird year, for a weird rest of the year, because you've got Metroid 5 coming
Mhm.
out in August, if I'm not mistaken.
It's August
And
or
then,
October, something like that.
yeah, yeah, something around that time. And then Advance Wars is like the holiday game. It's like
Mhm.
November, December game. And that's it. Like, there's nothing major. Like, I know they got the Mario Party, which again, I think's August, October type.
Yeah, I don't feel like I would call that major. I think to me, the Mario Party series is kind of like a accessory series to the stuff that they do.
Yeah, yeah. But again, there's nothing major. There's nothing like the big holiday game. So it'd be interesting to see if around September time, which they often do, a Nintendo Direct, if they announce anything a bit closer of like a surprise coming out in the next couple of months, a bit like what they did with Paper Mario last year with
Yeah,
the short notice thing. So, but yeah, it kind of looks like 2022 is going to be the year for gaming, really.
yeah, and I mean the Switch is 5 years old now. For something running Tegra hardware is getting a bit long in the tooth. They're doing a lot of great things with it.
Yeah,
But like we were talking about hardware before, I think Nintendo's got to do something with that fairly soon, because everybody's starting to get onto the 4K HDR bandwagon with the new consoles, new graphics cards, and Nintendo has always been good about kind of doing their own thing.
yeah,
And I mean, it took them forever to get onto 1080p, but at some point they're going to have to do something with their old hardware.
yeah. It's a weird one because they've always just been, you know, up and down, haven't they, with their consoles. So and particularly with cloud gaming being so big now, or getting bigger and stuff like that. And I think also just PC gaming seems to be so much more accessible for people. You know, it. I get like graphic cards are quite high demand and quite hard to get hold of, and can
Sure.
become quite expensive. But so many games have such great settings that even if you have it as mid-level, it still looks great.
That's the
So
entire reason I bought a PlayStation 5 over Series X, because pretty much everything going to Series X is going to be available on PC as well. There's not
yeah,
too much that's I need that hardware to be able to play this. Whereas on PlayStation, obviously they have certain series that are, if you want to play this, this is where you're going to have to play it.
yeah, yeah. I still cry at night that I can't play Spider-Man.
It's a good one. It's a
Yeah.
good one.
So anything else that you were quite shocked that they missed out?
No, I think the shocking thing about it is how kind of not shocking it was. There was a couple, like I said,
So
a couple,
mediocre.
yeah, there was a couple highlights. There was a couple things that I was excited about. I mean, seeing Metroid was a huge surprise to see that,
Yeah,
there is a mainline 2D Metroid. I think that was amazing. That I don't think people saw coming, and I think
yeah.
that was cool. But aside from that, it was kind of like, oh, well, there's another Nintendo Direct in the can. Let's see
Mm,
what happens to the next one.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I think everything's leading up to next year. I'd be, I wouldn't be surprised if Breath of the Wild gets pushed back to 2023.
Yeah, because they didn't give a month; they just said the year. So we'll see.
I swear they said hopefully as well, or possibly. Yeah, it was words similar to that.
Sure.
Um, and if we look at the original Breath of the Wild, from when that announced, it came out 5 years later or something.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, I remember that announcement on the Wii U, and like, wow, this looks pretty amazing. And then radio silence for for a while.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly. So yeah, we'll just have
yeah,
to see.
but yeah, no, this it's something that I'm excited to see the direction they go with that. Because seeing the up in the air, the floating islands, that's a really kind of cool
Mm.
dynamic to add to it. So I'm excited for it. I just like to see more, but maybe that's just me being greedy.
Oh no, mate, me like 3.5 million, because I checked just before going on there if people have viewed or at least repetitively viewed that 1 minute something video, and I've been trying to do like a bit of an analysis as well. But there's so many little things, and yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, so that's been our thoughts on this year's E3 Nintendo Direct. Let us know down in the comment section what you thought about the Direct. What was the big shocker for you? What was the most disappointing thing for you? Is the Switch Pro a thing, or was people just predicting and it never actually does happen? And and yeah, let us know down in the comment section below. And again, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate you
Oh,
coming on here. It's so
thank you so
awesome
much for
to be
having
doing
me.
this.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun. Please reach out to me again. You got another topic or something interesting you want to work on? I'm all completely for it.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Yeah, again, put in the comment section down below if you are enjoying these type of videos, because I love doing this. I love finally getting to talk to people, because it's one thing messaging each other, but actually doing this is completely different and so much better.
I
Um,
agree, definitely.
yeah, and of course, go and subscribe to Adults Have Toys Too. Fantastic channel, and I'm not joking, and I'm not just saying this because he's here. Honestly, fantastic channel. If you're into tech, if you're into game history, if you have a Tesla car,
I'm all over the place. I know.
yeah,
I don't have a specific niche, but yeah, no, I do appreciate that. Right now, I'm hopefully working on a project looking at some film photography, getting into
okay.
a little bit of the details of actually shooting with film. So it's kind of an eclectic channel. So please, yeah, come on by. I enjoy having people come by. I love the comments. I love chatting with people. So thank you so much for the shout out, and thank you so much for letting me be here and chatting with you.
No, definitely. And like you say, we'll do this again without a doubt. And
Perfect.
of course, subscribe to How to Game Differently if you haven't already, and click on the notification bell so that YouTube can alert you that there's a brand new video of How to Game Differently, and it may have John in it, which makes it even 100% better. Uh, so again, thank you so much for watching, and we will both hopefully speak to you soon. Goodbye, and speak to you soon.